Hey there, welcome to Hobie on YouTube, and welcome to my review of Boker's new club knife. I got this knife in yesterday and I can say I'm very pleased with it. I bought this knife from an outdoors equipment store by the name of Lamnia out of all places, Finland. I've never bought a knife from Finland before. I've never bought anything from Finland before, I don't think. But I have to tell you, I ordered this late Friday, so it was after business hours for Finland, and it's on my doorstep in Nowhere, North Carolina the following Wednesday. That's fantastic. It was at a price point where Lamnia did not even charge me for shipping. So we'll talk about the cost of this knife and things later, but here's how it came, very carefully packaged in this nice box. They threw in a sticker for me and a couple of candies, which I've yet to sample, but that's a really nice touch. Now this is Boker's box, of course, and Boker sells their nicer knives in really nice boxes. They have good presentation. This is from the Boker manufacturer in Zolgen, Germany, so it is handcrafted there, and they're going to send it to you in a nice box with a Boker placard. And here they've included a micro polishing bag. There's a piece of literature. It's one in English and one in Dutch. And this is not any information about this knife specifically, but just about, well, first of all, it says thank you for your support. I think that's really nice. It talks a little bit about the Boker manufacturer in Solingen. It's been in business for over 150 years, started in 1869. Some care instructions, and then their limited warranty. So here's the knife, and again, I'm really pleased with it. I think it's a great knife. So I believe this knife is new for Boker this year, 2020. This is called the club knife. This is the gentleman variety in desert ironwood covers. They also sell a club knife burlap with burlap micarta covers, carbon steel blade that's been acid washed, and a Castleberg variety, which also has carbon steel acid washed, but they use wood from timbers of an 800-year-old castle that's under constant restoration there in Germany. First thing I want to do is just get the specs out of the way. This is a 4-inch knife, 4 inches in the closed position. That's 101 millimeters. It's got a 2.5-inch blade, 64 millimeters. Its overall length is 6.5 inches or 165 millimeters, and it weighs 2.3 ounces, which is 66 grams. Has a blade thickness of just under 1/10 of an inch or 2.1 millimeters. So this knife's going to be legal carry just about everywhere. So this is the gentleman variety with the desert ironwood scales, and that really appealed to me. I love desert ironwood. It's a great material for knife covers. It is very rare and very expensive. It only grows in the Sonora Desert, which is an area there in southwestern United States, northwestern Mexico. It's a small tree or shrub, and it can only legally be harvested dead and down. It's super dense. It's extremely hard. It's so dense it sinks in water. It's so hard it's very hard to work with. It dulls and breaks tools. So, you know, it's only used mostly on small items. But it is really highly revered as covers for knives. Here you're looking at Boker's new shield. I believe they brought this out this year as well. So they've redone their shield, and I just really like it. I think it's visually striking. It's very bold. You immediately realize that you're looking at their chestnut tree brand emblem. You know, it's just much more visually impactful than their older badge here. This knife has lined nickel-silver bolsters, nickel-silver pins. Of course, again, the desert ironwood covers I think are just spectacular. It does have brass liners, and it has an upgraded steel. It has a Bowler N690, which I'll talk about here in a minute. So let's just there's only one blade. It's just basically an equal end jackknife with a spear point blade. I think this knife is really more reminiscent of vintage American knives than it is anything European, and maybe that's why it appealed to me. But here's the blade. I think it's just gorgeous. It's a nice big fat bellied spear point blade. It's Got a nice swedge on both sides. It's very well done. There is a long pull, and it is match struck. It has a match striker in it. The blade has been given a satin finish, as you can see. It's flat ground. And here's our tank stamp, Boker Zolligen N690. So this is a little better steel that Boker has been moving to on some of their premium knives. It's from Austria. The company's Boulder. You may be familiar with their M390 steel. That's kind of their super steel. This is a upper grade mid-level steel, and it's not to be confused with their lower grade N695 steel. This one is alloyed with cobalt, which gives it an extremely fine, extremely fine grain texture, and it gives it really good edge retention. So I like that. I got a little upgraded steel here. I've had this steel before on a bushcraft knife, and I can tell you it's very hard. I don't have the Rockwell hardness on it, but it is a very tough steel, and it came with a super fine edge. The grind is just great on the knife. It does have a half stop. The action is just great, really springy. A little bit on the stiff side, but it's very firm and gives you a lot of confidence. Snaps open, stays in place. Great authoritative half stop. Just a really good overall action there. Blade centering is good. Nothing is proud. Nothing rubs, of course. I think the brass liners are nice and thick. Fit and finish on this knife is excellent. It's as good as anything I've ever had, really. No pins are proud or shy. There are no ledges or rough spots or hitches or hooks or anything for you to feel. It's pretty tight. There aren't really any gaps to speak of. Again, blade centering's good. Blade lays in there just right. One nice thing about this knife is it's kind of, I think, a little bit of a fancy feature. As you'll notice, has a fully sunken joint. They've achieved that without a bigger bolster on this end or anything else. So there's absolutely no corner of a tang to irritate you, rub your pants. Kind of a nice feature, fully sunken. And then finally on the fit and the finish, if I could find one fault, it would be the badge. And this is very nitpicky, but it just seems a little proud to me on this side. And it's flush here, but it didn't get hammered in there completely flat right here. But you feel the embossed tree more than you do the edges of the shield anyway. So it's really not a big deal. I really like the way that Boker uses special materials for their scales. This is desert ironwood, so it's not unique or anything, but the Castleberg timbers are pretty unique. They've done stuff like that before. They've made their Damask blades out of leopard tank barrels, out of water wheels, steam wheels from their old factory. On their scales, they've used oak from German beer barrels. Like I said, the oak from the timbers of an 800-year-old castle. They've used bog oak before. They've even used dinosaur bones before. So they do a lot of cool things for the collectors. Okay, so let's talk about price real quick. And this is November 2020. Currently on Boker's German website, these sell for 156 euros. Which roughly at today's exchange rate would equate to about $182. Strangely, on Boker's US website, they're priced at $259. That's a lot of money. I can tell you that Lamnia was running a sale. They were selling these for 104 euros at the time. That equated to $122. That was a real sweet spot for me because with Lamnia, anything over $120, they'll ship to you for free. So this was shipped to me from Finland, expedited. I got it in basically 3 working days for $122. Again, I think it's well worth it. It is, I would say, GEC quality. This is Boker at its best. This is the way you would expect a handcrafted knife from German craftsmen to be. Boker says this is kind of the sister knife to their camp or sports knife, but it just doesn't have the back tools. I don't really agree with that. Here's my Boker Sport Messer, also in desert ironwood, so they look very similar. But this is a 4-inch knife. This is more of a 3.5-inch knife, or 3 3/4. I don't remember exactly, but this is a longer knife. I do believe it's also a little broader in the frame, up here anyway. But of course, it does not have the odd shape for the back tools. So that's been a look at Boker's new club knife. I just think that's a really classy knife. I can see that on a mahogany table, you know, with a cigar going and a snifter of brandy or something. I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching, and have fun collecting.